I appreciate you're feeling needy right now, but I kinda... Well, hello, Bandit. I'm sure everybody can hear you enter from all of the panting you're doing. What up, nerds? My name is Leslie Smith. Welcome to The Nerdy Narrative, a channel where I talk about all of my reading adventures. Everything I read, I like to share about in hopes of helping you find your next read. What I'm going to talk about today are all of the books that I'm hoping to read during the month of December. I do have a few carryovers from November that I'm simply going to keep carrying over until I read them. So I have here that I'm going to be bringing over from November. That is N.C. Scrimmager's fantasy novel, Sea of Souls. Sea of Souls is about Isla Blackwood. She is apparently a very free-spirited daughter of nobility who has taken to the seas because she doesn't want anything to do with her family. Tragedy strikes that brings her home to defend what has been taken from her family, avenge possibly some deaths and attacks on her home. I think her home has actually been taken, so she has to team up with her brother, and apparently events lead them to teaming up with an exiled Selkie. Now, the Selkie is a natural enemy of the Blackwoods. In fact, Selkie raiders are who take their home from them, so I am very excited to read this story. That's a trope I like, sort of the prodigal son or daughter returning home to defend the thing that they thought they were running from and didn't want to be a part of in the first place. So I'm excited to read that one. Another carryover is one I've been trying to get into for several months now. This one is Lord of a Shattered Land by Howard Andrew Jones. The Dresden Empire has captured and destroyed the great city of Valanus. They have razed it to the ground. They defiled their temples. They looted all of its treasure, plundered everything, and actually took salt to the fields. So it sounds pretty dire. It sounds like Valanus is over. All of the survivors were sold into slavery. But there is one of its greatest generals that still lives, Hanavar. Hanavar has one purpose that drives him. He is traveling through the Dresden Empire, all of the surrounding areas, trying to find all of the people that are survivors that were sold into slavery and free them once and for all. This sounds like a journey that I'm going to really enjoy. I love this cover. Looks like there's going to be some monsters involved. I am all in for that. So I'm excited to see what this one is going to hold for me. This is a new to me author, so I'm very excited to read this. I noticed on the cover it says The Chronicles of Hanavar Volume 1. So that must mean there is Volume 2 coming, which is always exciting. Whenever I read a book and I see that it's the first in a series, I'm excited because I get attached to characters. I get attached to the worlds that these characters live in. I typically don't want to leave them. I am a series kind of girl. I love being able to just immerse myself into the world and its characters and know that it's not just a one and done and it's over. I know, I'm a weirdo, but that's just how I am. Next, my final carryover is The Binding Power by Cassidy Failing. And the reason why this one keeps getting carried over is I'm trying to find time to fit in a reread of the first book because I love this book so much. The Awakening Fire I read in, I want to say 2 days. It was so good. Dark fantasy. I love dark fantasy. And you might be thinking, but Leslie, it's December. It's the most wonderful time of the year. You should read happy books. I'm going to. I've got some on the TBR. We're going to talk about them in a minute, but I just love dark fantasy, grim fantasy. Fantasy that has horror in it, just death, dismemberment, dire circumstances. I don't know why I love it so much. Maybe it's the uncertainty. You just never know when you're reading dark fantasy or grimdark. You have morally gray characters. You never know what they're going to do. They're so unpredictable. It could go either way. I just thrive on that unpredictability. The name of this series is called Ancient's Blood. And even though these ancients that are worshipped have been gone for many, many years, we're talking upwards of 1,000 years, their laws still hold. The citizens still abide by the laws set by these idols from all these years ago. Where this story begins is a time of great civil unrest. The throne is empty. There are 3 different men who have a claim over the throne and they are going after it. There's betrayal, there's violence, there are secrets revealed that get everybody involved in an uproar, just shakes the beliefs that these people have upheld for 1,000 years. Can you imagine what that does to you? You have believed something for all these years, ever since you've been born. You have lived by the law of this religion all of those years, and then you find out a truth that just shakes that to the core. Well, we know, we look at our own history and see some of the bloodiest wars fought were due to religion. So you can just imagine the violence and unrest that's breaking out because their beliefs have been shattered. But then there are those that are going to live in denial and they're going to hang on to those beliefs. And then there are those that are using those beliefs to hold power over others. There's so much conspiracy. I loved every page of The Awakening Fire. Before I could even write my review, I was emailing the author, asking a ton of questions, just talking about all of the characters, what I liked, what I was looking forward to maybe seeing in book 2. And I'm just having trouble continuing without a reread. So I'm going to do my best to make that happen this month. We'll see how it goes. Next, I have here The Failed Technomancer by Boo Ludlow. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, before I even read the description of this book, I'd already told this author I would absolutely accept this one to read and review simply because of his name. For those of you who don't know, my little dog Bandit, my husband named him Bandit. I wanted to name him Boo. So his name is Bandit, but I still call him Boo. So I love the name Boo, and obviously Boo Ludlow, that was an immediate yes for me. You just never know what's gonna make me say yes to a book. So this is book 1 of the Robot Cannibal Apocalypse. I noticed Audible was having their big sale during Black Friday. There's an audiobook for this that the author recorded himself, so it was half price, so I went ahead and picked up a copy so I can immersion read. That is my absolute favorite way to read. So I'm very excited to read this one. Oh, I'm looking at the back and I do not like the looks of that guy. He's like a spider looking robot. But apparently the world has been destroyed by man-eating robots. The only thing that keeps humanity from being utterly annihilated are these beings called Technomancers. The main character of this story is named 64-bit, and that is how the book gets its title, The Failed Technomancer. A Technomancer is someone who is able to control technology with their mind, and 64-bit has not been able to do that. He's been able to hide his failures up until a certain point, and apparently these man-eating robots are invading. So it would seem that 64-bit has found himself in some seriously hot water, and their home settlement is in danger. So I can't wait to see how this one's gonna work. It's described as a science fantasy novel with horror elements and the first in a trilogy. So I'm very excited to read that one. Next up in the pile is an SPFBO 9 entry. This is The Return of the Knights by Gregory Contaxis. You might have recently seen that he has published a prequel novella to this series. The prequel novella is called The Night of the Moon, which I'm also going to read this month. I'm going to read them in publication order. But what is this one about? So the Palace of the Dawn is about to be stormed by this really bad guy. The queen is apparently, her resources are exhausted. She is about to be dethroned, and this one solitary knight shows up named Elliot. Elliot's purpose is to try and draw this bad guy away. His name is Walter. Rekindle the alliances of the queen. Sounds easy, right? Something tells me it's not going to be quite that easy. What I'm seeing here in this little excerpt that I found is it's Game of Thrones meets Greek mythology in this explosive epic fantasy story packed with war, medieval lore, magic, loyalty, and bravery. It is the first book in the series, The Dance of Light. I have seen a lot of really good positive reviews around this book, so I'm excited to read it. I've already seen great things said about the prequel novella, so I'm really excited to get into that one. This is going to be an exciting month of discovery for me. And then, of course, I will be continuing my Wheel of Time reread. I've got book 11, Knife of Dreams. I can't believe 4 more books and I will be done with yet another reread of this series. And honestly, if you edited out all of the things that Robert Jordan writes repetitively, word for word, just repeats in every novel, sometimes more than once, if you edited all that out, this 14 book 15 if you count the prequel, would absolutely be the 6-book series it was originally meant to be. And since we're talking about series reread, we'll go ahead and talk about what am I going to be reading for the Dresden Files this month. I have 2 graphic novels on deck for the month of December. That's Wild Card and Dogmen. And that may be the last 2 graphic novels that are currently published for the series. This is my first time, if you're new, this is my first time reading the Dresden Files with all of the short stories and graphic novels in the midst of everything. Just a full, complete reread in chronological order. Been loving it, having the best time, and it's hilarious because my husband has finally gotten involved in the series. He is currently through book 8, Proven Guilty. We listened to that one when we drove home to Mississippi for Thanksgiving holidays. We listened to the first half on the drive there and the second half on the drive back. So actually rereading the series twice because most of the time I'm in the car with Chris as he's listening to the books, so I don't mind. I love the series. What else do I have? Oh, another carryover. I totally forgot about this one. It's called The Horror at Pleasant Brook. It's by Kevin Lucia. It was published by Crystal Lake Publishing recently, and they did email me a copy to read and review. I've been trying to get it worked in and it just hasn't worked out. But when I saw that this story took place on Halloween, I just love horror stories around Halloween. I know it's kind of tropey. I'm a sucker for it. I can't help it. This Halloween, a malevolent, creeping horror invades a small, isolated town nestled deep in the... I have no idea how to say this, but I will put the word on the screen for those of you who might know how to pronounce that. It cares nothing for this town's secrets, prejudices, or flaws. Its only desires are to consume everything in its path and spread until nothing else remains. The book description is short and sweet, but it gives me everything I need to know that it's a story that typically appeals to me. Well, it takes place on Halloween, and it's a remote town, so I'm all in for that stuff. And remember how I said earlier that I did have a fun holiday themed read on the TBR? Well, let's talk about that one. I picked up Death of a Christmas Tree Salesman by Patricia Meredith. I have heard so many wonderful things about her writing. I'm not sure, but I believe she writes mystery. They may even be cozy mysteries. I haven't read any of them yet. I'm just going to start here. It's the first book in what I'm hoping is going to be a holiday series. I'm a big fan of tradition, especially holiday traditions. And if she were to write one of these for every Christmas, I just thought it'd be really cute. And so I'm glad I noticed it and got in on the first one. Sam Shovel only comes to life 12 days a year at Christmas time. And this year, he's right on time to solve a murder mystery at the world's largest Christmas tree supplier. This supplier, whose name is O Tannenbaum, has been murdered. Santa and his wife are way too busy to look into it, so Sam Shovel is on the case. It seems that the North Pole is full of suspects. I can't tell you how excited I am to dive into this one. I'm gonna save it for the week of Christmas so I can enjoy it. I pre-ordered the Kindle version of this one, but I also picked up that Audible sale I mentioned. I got the audiobook, which is narrated by Andrew D. Meredith, who is also on the TBR this month. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Andrew D. Meredith. He has a couple of different series. I tried his other series first, Deathless Beast. I think that's the name of the first book. And it's about paladins, and I just did not connect with that one, and I decided to try this one, which is the Needle and Leaf series. The first book in that series is called Thrice. Again, I also picked up the audiobook narrated by the author himself, half price on Audible. Thrice's story centers around a boy who has what was described as soul-searing magic. And I need to know what this magic is. That immediately caught my attention. There are those, of course, who are out to get the boy. They want to exploit his magic. So I'm very curious about this one. I think this is the series that is going to make me a fan of Andrew D. Meredith. So I'm really excited to get into this series and see if this is the one that is going to click with me and this author. I hope so. I can't wait to find out. With that, that will wrap up all of the books that I am hoping to read during the month of December. Again, whatever I don't read in December, I'm going to carry right over into January and get these books read. They're all books I've been wanting to read for a very long time, so they are going to get got. Hope you enjoyed listening to what I'm going to be reading over the month. Hope you're excited to hear about some of these, because I sure can't wait to talk about them with you. Have a great rest of your day. Hope the holiday season has already started off warmly for you. Take care, and I will catch you in the next one.